Hi, everybody. This is day 1517, if I have it right. A lot of days there, a lot of days, and a lot of work um, because Richard was premeditatedly murdered. Richard, our son, Fort Bliss, whistleblower soldier. Um, let's see what happened here. I'm getting all kinds of messages, y'all. Okay. Yeah, we're hearing more and more from just hearing more and more. It's crazy. Um, okay, so the big news is that Richard, we have confirmation that he was code red. We've been saying that for a while, and this is corroborating evidence, corroborating confirmation. Of course, we have so much that corroborates that Richard was a code red. And part of that is just making sure that I see everything. That Richard was a code red. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so now I can see any kind of comments. And, I'm going to have to double check my live streams because when I turn it off, somehow it'll keep rolling um, on the Facebook part of it. So we'll see. I'll double check, make sure it's working right. Because this is so important for everyone to share. We're talking about, I would say it's nationwide. The news is nationwide. And how can a soldier that was murdered on Fort Bliss for whistleblowing, that's connected to the Walmart mass shooting case, we have information that he had information on the Walmart mass shooting, and of course that was orchestrated. There's no doubt in our mind at all. You only have to spend like 30 minutes. If you like a good book, if you like a mystery, if you like investigating, just 30 minutes, you look into the Walmart mass shooting, and I need to put up Glennon Oakley Jr.'s videos again. I need to put up a couple articles that are, you have to dig for them to get them, but they're still there. And we downloaded them. Um, the evidence of that day, if you just do a little bit, it can be a homeschool lesson. I would recommend it for a home the Walmart mass shooting. And looking at Patrick Crucius objectively, looking at where he's coming from, how he got there, why, his motives, his mental health, because he has severe mental health condition, including autism. I mean, he has many conditions, mental health conditions, severe. Um, and if he can put together a manifesto like he did, time it like he did, go in there with the earphones on. Of course, when you're autistic, loud noises are very, very sensitive. Um, so, of course, he had to do that. Um, when you look at his family, the reaction of his family, when you look at the reaction of that day, the investigators, the police, that absolutely betrayed us. And it's like they were driven to do it. You know, the it's kind of like the whole COVID thing. Um, it's like your cattle and you're put in a crush and you have no way to go. You just have to be in that crush. Um, I don't know if any of you have been around cattle. or sheep, and having to treat them, or give them a good looking over to make sure everything's okay, or you want to get to one cow, right? Um, to check them out, but you have to put all of them in the crush, right, to get to the one. I don't know if y'all been around animal livestock like that and seen that. Um, our family has, and it's very clear that you can be a very healthy police officer, an upright police officer, but you're put in the crush. You're put in the crush. And the El Paso Police Department, with the others during the Walmart mass shooting, I think the whole community was crazy that one. The media really drives that, right? By giving this false narrative, and if you do not obey, they will smear you, they will destroy you, they will be against you. And you've seen that with Richard. They'll do that with Richard. They did that with Glendon Oakley Jr. He did not want to go in that crush, right? He said the wrong thing. He said that there were, a whole bunch of mall cops with M4s in the mall, and there were two shots in the mall. I heard two shots, and everyone went crazy, and in the mall, and I had my weapon. You know, he didn't say the right narrative, right? And in that one day, less than a few hours later, they were saying it was a lone shooter, a lone shooter. Just like with Crooks now, just like with Ryan Ruth, just this is a lone shooter. No one else is behind them, right? No, they can't have any help. This is not a group. This is not a group, which is absolutely a lie. It's absolutely a lie because it's absolutely orchestrated. It's absolutely a criminal group that's behind this, and the same criminal group behind the Walmart mass shooting is behind the murder of our son and the cover up of our son, the retaliation, the murder, and the cover up of a Fort Bliss soldier. And I think that is an assault on the entire nation. So how can that, just this borderland, El Paso, Fort Bliss, murder of a soldier, and don't forget Glendon Oakley Jr. found dead in April of 2020, just a couple months before Richard, right? Um, because that's being looked at again too. We have confirmation, and it should be because it stinks. It stinks to high heaven what they did to Glendon Oakley Jr. Um, and when you watch the videos, you'll be, your heart, he's just authentic. He's so authentic. He was not part of the criminal group. And when you see Ernest Christopher Grant, the media sweetheart, he's so fake. He's such a liar. And that's not me calling him a liar. That's the El Paso Police Department. They had to call him a liar because his lies were so outrageous. They couldn't support his lies. Um, and the media, he's a media sweetheart. And also, got to meet with Governor Abbott, just had this access that, even a Gold Star family doesn't have. But he has it, and he's a criminal. He's absolutely a criminal, and he has access, and he's a media sweetheart. And Gold Star family, we get retaliated against. We get smeared. It's really outrageous, and no access. So how can this be national, international? Of course, it's international because it has to do with Mexico. It absolutely has to do with um, collusion, cooperation um, with the cartel. Absolutely. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is the Mexico part of this. She's part of the Mexico part of this. Um, And, her and her family targeted our son, our family. Why? Why would she do that? And why would she impersonate a widow when she's not? Well, that's, tens of thousands of dollars in her pocket of the Walmart Mass Shooting Victims Fund, um, being distributed very questionably by El Paso Community Foundation, which is Westar Bank. Um, and, I don't have notes today. I don't have any notes. I'm just speaking from what I want the El Paso, for the American people, and even those in Mexico, those in Walmart, I mean, in Juarez, that need to hear this, need to hear that, you know, in El Paso, the government, a big part of it, a big chunk of it, are just impersonators. They have no authority, and here they are creating all this crime, um, absolutely participating in the crime, covering up the crime, um, maybe heading up the crime. And who are they? Well, we know um, that the very important part of this is the judges, right? The judges. And so, El Paso County, the criminal law magistrate court, has countywide jurisdiction. They're very powerful, this magistrate court, and they see about 90%. They handle about 90% of the cases of, you, let's say, you get arrested, maybe it's 11 o'clock at night, you go to the magistrate court, right? And that was Patrick Crucius was magistrated. Not only magistrated, he was processed. He was arraigned in the magistrate court. The process with countywide jurisdiction, which became law in 2015, uh, those judges needed to be elected. And that's a huge deal, because they're not elected right now. They're appointed, which means that they have no legal right to arraign Patrick Crucius, to rule on Patrick Crucius, to order anything on Patrick Crucius, to forward documents, do anything. They have no legal right. They are absolutely committing crimes every single time they do anything right now in a courtroom, um, well, on the bench. They are committing a crime because you know, uh, look, I can't just go to the magistrate court robe and sit on a bench and say, okay, boom, you have to pay so much in bond and you're going to prison and you're doing. I have no legal right to do that. And neither do they. They're all impersonators. And the legal term for that is official impersonation. They are impersonating a government official. That's what that means. And the other legal words, legal phrase, would be deprivation of honest services. Okay? Deprivation of honest service is what's happening. We're paying for these judges, um, and when I say we Americans, and really in El Paso, it's the uh, El Pasoans that are paying for their judges, and the people are paying for that, and they are not getting they're not getting their honest service. It is deprivation of honest service because they have no legal right to do what they're doing. And let's talk about appointees. Um, I've looked at these individuals. I've looked at Bill Hicks because he's also an official impersonator. He's a usurper. And he is also depriving, and everyone knows this because of the Walmart mass shooting case, right? He's also depriving El Pasoans from honest service, um, because El Pasoans are paying his bills. I mean, even the money that they bring in from drug raids, right? He's using that money, and this is illegal too, to pay for his lawyers in the SB4 case, right? He's being sued in the SB4 case, and he's taking money that's been confiscated in the drug raids that's supposed to go back into helping El Pasoans, but he's using that money to service his legal needs because he's so unfit to be in the legal business. He has money problems, he has business problems, he has bad business ties, he has a very poor academic record. He is not fit to be the district attorney at all. He is not the Christians deserve. He is low. He's the bottom of the barrel. He's the bottom of the barrel. And so when you get the bottom of the barrel appointed, then you can't expect the results of a cream of the crop candidate because he's not. He's the bottom of the barrel. You can expect corruption, mishandling, misfunding. I mean, he can't even handle his own finances. He can't handle his own academics. He can't handle his own business. He can't even pay the rent for his own business. So, this is, he has tons of complaints, bar complaints. Why he was chosen is very suspect. Very suspect. And for anyone out there, because I've been told we better have Bill Hicks. No, no, no. We don't want Bill Hicks. We don't want Bill Hicks. And, we have skin in the game in this because part of getting accountability is to have a PA in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's office. Part of getting accountability in our son's case is for that. And we have paid dearly. We've paid dearly with our son's life. Our son gave his life because he wouldn't with the Vanity Fair there, the criminal Vanity Fair. And he was reporting it. And I'm talking about the criminal trafficking and the fraud, the problems with the Walmart mass shooting case, also the problems with Glendon Oakley Jr., and many more. Many more. And, when he was talking to so many agencies, from CID to the IG to Washington to FBI Houston, right, to 911, when he's talking to so many, and more than once, multiple times, and things that have been sanitized even, because look, we only have well, we have more because we have the board of inquiry, we have the declaration of death, we have the insurance. But you only have from that 15 plus task force find Richard Halliday, you only have the CID report. Where is all the other reports? You had 15 plus agencies there. The CID was just one of them. Where is the AFT, right, or ATFs? Where is the Homeland Security? Where is the Interpol? Where are the do outs? Where is the border, right? Where is all of the do outs, all of the information from the 15 plus task force find Richard Halliday? Where is the sheriffs? Where is the marshals? Where is the El Paso Police Department? Where is, you know, they should have given us all of that information. And what's really interesting is one of the things that everyone should know is that these judges that are absolutely illegal, they're absolutely criminal because they know that they're appointed, and they're glad they're appointed because they're not too swift. They're not the cream of the crop. And they should be elected. And if they had to go through an election, I don't think they would win. Matter of fact, one, I think it's Acosta, or is it another one, uh, tried to go through an election and he didn't win. He didn't win his election, but he was appointed. And it was for a different district he went for because this is the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. He was trying to go for something else that he had to go through an election. Then he gets appointed. Whew, I don't. No one has to look at my record. Nobody has to scrutinize my education. Nobody has to scrutinize what I know. No one has to scrutinize how I handle my life. Nobody has to. I don't have to go through an election. And this is a travesty. This is denying the people, right, their democratic rights. Because if you have very powerful judges, which these positions are, because they have county-wide jurisdiction and handle 90%, and I don't know the exact number, but it's around 90% of the cases, they need to be scrutinized because they are making decisions over our lives. They are the ones that decide on if the criminal goes free, if they go to prison, they arraign them, they set the bond, they can take away your children, can determine if you need to take drugs, if you need to stop taking drugs, if you need to go into a certain program, if whatever. They are messing with lives. And they're denying the very lives they're messing with the opportunity to grade them by putting them through elections, saying, look, you're ruling over us, you're giving orders over us, you have power over us, and yet you're just appointed? No. I think that the people have a say-so over these very powerful positions, and so does the Texas Constitution. And there's a lesson that is a very important lesson, and that is of King Saul. And some of you might not know the Bible. Some of you might not know King Saul. King Saul was chosen to be the king over God's people when they demanded a king. This is right before King David. And Saul was chosen by God. But yet he fell from that grace. Why? Because he thought his actions were more pleasing to God than his obedience. So he decided just to do what he thought God would like, try to make up the things as he went, which God didn't like, and not be obedient to God. And I think that's a huge lesson. When you wrap your mind around it, it's a huge lesson. We have the Texas Constitution. It's a gift from us. It's the law. And we need to be obedient to it. And somebody like Judge Madrano, Sam Madrano, because he's on the Council of Judges or the whatever judges that appoint these other judges, he's so criminal because he's not obedient to the law, and he is a judge that's supposed to be, well, he's supposed to know the law. I'm sure he knows the law, and yet he's not obedient to the law. And that makes him a criminal. Obedience is, should be a golden word. Obedience to God, obedience to the Constitution, to the Texas Constitution. Because they're there to make us have an orderly society. And these judges that are impersonators, that they're so criminal when you think about it. You're like, they are so hypocritical. They themselves are so disobedient, and they are punishing people, determining punishments of people, putting people in jail, calling them violators of the law, when they themselves are violating the law in the biggest way. It's disgusting. And get this. They have to give their orders to the clerk, right? Clerk of the court, the district clerk. And that is Bernadette Madrano. Now you can figure that one out. And we wrote her yesterday to notify her that if she continues taking documents and orders and arraignments and whatever from these illegitimate individuals that are officially impersonating judges, that she is also liable. She's been served the notice that she cannot do anything right now in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, because any ruling that is made is a botched case, because you have violators of the law posing as judges. Now that is huge, because the question is this going on in other places? When this is exposed, and it is exposed, and I think the media is like, oh my gosh, what is this family talking about? What's going on here? Because the ramifications of this They have to report on it. One day they'll have to report on it when they get their head around it and decide what they're going to do. And that's why this live stream is so important for you to share. Because this is something very, very easy for every El Pasoan, regardless of your education. It's very easy to understand and very easy to check. That whole usurpation of Bill Hicks is a little difficult, right? And that word usurpation. What is a usurpation? What did he do? Well, he's a total criminal, and he he needs to be arrested. But it's a little bit tougher to understand what we're saying with that, but not with this magistrate court. It's very easy. Are they elected? No. They have not been elected. Not a one of them. Is it required that they are elected? Yes. Go on your phone, electronics, or go to your little book or whatever. Go look up, what is it? 16, section 17, in the Texas Constitution. And there it is. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Super easy for everyone to understand. Are the judges elected? No. They are violating the law. They're violating your rights. They're violating your civil rights. They're violating due process. They're violating the election, the right to an election. They are violating your voice. And that is in every case since 2015. That includes Patrick Crucia's case and Richard's case, because both of them were magistrated, and Patrick Crucius was arraigned. Richard was unlawfully put in jail. So any ruling right now, and if you want to know why Leilani Hart hasn't been arrested, and Dallas Hart hasn't been arrested, and James Hart hasn't been arrested, and Bradford Bugado, but we've heard that he's under investigation. Bradford Bugado, he's a lieutenant colonel, G3 32nd ADCOM, the son-in-law of Nadal Baim. And Nadal Baim is somebody, but let me tell you, who really needs to be arrested is Sean Bernabe and Donna. What's her last name? Anyway, the IG general, Donna Martin. Both are generals. They were giving a star out of this. Whoever gave them a star needs to also be arrested. You see the ramifications of this case? Why the media sits on their hands? Because you have major players in the military that absolutely have to be arrested. And this is death penalty level crimes. This is treason. They are traitors. Absolutely traitors. Because they were doing business instead of defending our Constitution. They were doing action instead of being obedient. They thought, I can please myself. I can please myself and say, "Oh yeah, that's for the country. You can thank me later. Thank me for my service." And not be obedient at all to what their service requires. Not be obedient to anything that they've sworn allegiance to, except for maybe some kind of cult or sex cult or whatever. Because with the news coming out, especially with this Ryan Ruth, um, and people are going to say, "What is she talking about now? She's connecting Ryan Ruth with Richard's case." Um, he was, he, it's all over the news and it's shocking. They just had a witness say he was communicating with the top military leaders. Well, that's Richard's case. That connects him to Richard's case. You don't think that Michael Garrett has a part in Richard's case? Oh man, he has a huge part. We already have connected him with the individuals in El Paso, with the his business interests. And he put his business interests and the politics over his service, his oath. It's he's a traitor. And he's a four-star general. So Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, who we have, information that he's being investigated, active in ongoing investigations, right? Active in ongoing investigations. I think they're waiting for the election. I think that's why one side is so desperate to have control at any cost, because they have to keep control of the system in order to cover up these egregious crimes against the people they're supposed to be serving. And, the magistrate court is just one example, and it is huge, huge. Because if I tell you that the chief medical examiner is a judge, um, you know, that's hard to understand because, most people don't even pay attention to who the chief medical examiner is, the regular person that's working their jobs. But a chief medical examiner is a judge. And any judge under the Texas Constitution in Texas has to be a citizen. And Mario Raskin has, they've tried to save him. They illegally did things. It's so hard to explain, but he is so illegal and he's so criminal. And that is also official impersonation and deprivation of honest service. And it's hard to wrap your mind around that, but when you think of him being in the court case, anytime there's a death, he is the expert witness in a court case because he testifies to the cause and manner of death. He rules the cause and manner of death. He makes that ruling. And that's why he's a judge, and he can issue subpoenas. He can start an inquest. It's a very powerful position. And since 2014, he has scammed El Pasoans. And the magistrate court has scammed El Pasoans since 2015. Not only scammed, but hurt. Because they're not taking orders from the people. They would if they were elected. They would, let's just say, they couldn't as easily be corrupt as an appointed judge. Appointed judge is going to do whatever the person that appointed them or the group that appointed them wants them to do. They're not, answering to the people. An election changes that. And election, I was told lots of times, don't even do don't elect, it's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. Baloney. See, this is another thing. It's not about action, it's about obedience. And one of the sacraments is the laying on of hands. It's the voting. You can say it's ordination. It's the laying on of hands. It's the voting. Who are you going to vote for? It is a very powerful part of a law-abiding society. You have a usurpation in the DA's office. You have an illegal as a chief medical examiner. You have frauds, really, really powerful frauds in the magistrate court. And then, of course, you have the other officials like FBI Supervisory Director Nieto, who should never be in the El Paso area because he's from El Paso. He has all the ties from El Paso. So he's very, very easily, he has conflicts of interest there. It can be business conflicts of interest. It can be family ties, conflicts of interest. He absolutely should not be there, and he is. And of course, the conflicts of interest with Bernadette Medrano and Judge, one of the this is what I've heard, the most corrupt judge in El Paso history, Judge Sam Medrano Jr. There's too many conflicts of interest. And then, of course, you have Jesus Nieto, the supervisory FBI. Didn't want to forget this. His wife, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, working on Fort Bliss in intelligence. So right there with Bugado, right there with the generals, right there with CID, right there with FBI. Talk about conflicts of interest or a good cover for all the criminal trafficking. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm saying I suspect it. I suspect it because too many dots are there. Too many conflicts of interest are there, especially with Marlon Soto Hernandez as the lead in the CID office, who absolutely lied to us, absolutely needs to be arrested, absolutely a criminal, protecting, not even calling for an internal review when everything was going on with Tavita Nusa. Tavita Nusa, married man, but getting sexual favors from his relative, Leilani Hart, who happens to be a convicted criminal, and giving her access to files in the CID office there, including Richard's file, to tamper with Richard's file. And I'm wondering if she was tampering with Glendon Oakley Jr.'s file and, admitting in an affidavit, in a notarized affidavit, that her family was involved in incest, in the sexual assault of a 7-year-old in her master bedroom, of illegal weapons purchasing, of child corn. Um, I'm supposed to watch what I say, so you have to read through the lines. Uh, you know, and her immigration status. Her immigration status. A lot of problems there. And that means that her family, especially her husband, James Courtney Hart, who is the maker and breaker there on Fort Bliss and in the business world there in El Paso, and you know, he's so connected. They had to scrub a lot of LLCs for him, and that's including Nadal Bayim, um, all those connections with Dallas Hart, those connections. I can't even imagine the chaos that they had to go through and the support that they had to have to scrub all of that. They didn't do it totally. That's why we're here at 4 years, and it could have all been done in a matter of days. They've had it. They've had it. But because Michael Garrett and James McConville and Donna Martin and some big players there, especially real estate. And I wanted to talk about real estate tonight. There's a lot of real estate uh, partnerships in this. Um, a lot of fraud, a lot of contract fraud, and taking advantage of the military there. And I'm just thinking that all of Fort Bliss just needs to, it needs to go away. It needs to go away because it has caused so much harm to El Paso with with the very evil, the really easy way to bring in major, major crime. And on the taxpayers' dime. You need gas? Okay, we'll get gas from Fort Bliss. Well, fuel. You need fuel. You need tactical move storage units. You need vehicles. You need ammunition. You need equipment. You need weapons. We'll just get it from Fort Bliss. These are lawless, lawless people. Lawless. No obedience. And that causes the murder of a whistleblower soldier who, 20 years old, they're retaliating against him. And then, he just turns 21 and they murder him. And then they want to smear him. They want to dismember him. They want to disrespect his remains. They, I think they professionally destroyed some of his remains, and then some of his remains were in other places, including in Mexico. Um, and they had to destroy some of it professionally because I think they committed fraud with what they did have of him. Now, if you don't think this is a horror story for our family, for our beautiful son, I'll put up some more pictures of him. I haven't put up a lot of pictures lately of him. I need to do that. This is absolutely horrific. Look, the death penalty needs to be on the table. And I was just looking at that P. Diddy, and they're saying that it's like an Epstein. He was taking, videos and doing his sex cult stuff, and they called it a certain thing, whatever. And And they're saying, anyone that was naked with him, or the sex workers or whatever, that they're all facing jail time and more. And that's just P. Diddy. That's in the private world, right? I mean, they might be some. I think they're music executives and stuff like that. But this case is much more serious because we're talking about our national security. We're talking about those that we've entrusted with our national security, those that we've entrusted with our Constitution, those that we've entrusted with the law of the land, and the violation of that, and the continuous severe crimes committed by them. That's what we're talking about. And the death, that's called treason. Because absolutely there are foreign and domestic enemies in this. And it's on the taxpayer's dime. It's, you're entrusting them, paying for them. If you don't think you're paying for them, just go try to buy some groceries, because inflation is a hidden tax, y'all. It's not that prices go up. They're taxing you because they're printing more money. It's a tax. They digitize. They don't print anymore. They just digitize the money and they charge you. They charge us. So they're charging us a lot, and we are deprived of honest service. And then on top of that, we have the deprivation of honest service, but we also have those impersonating officials that they don't even have the right to even be paid in that position. They're imposters. They're scam artists. They're total criminals. And they're wielding the hammer and the robe. And they're, the seal, the DA seal, and they're wielding the death certificates. And what's on the death certificates? This story is so big. And it's not me. I've never wanted to be in a story big. I have very simple hopes and wants in this life. But God puts you where He wants you. And our duty is to be obedient. And they absolutely code red, premeditatedly murdered and disrespect and chopped up our son. And they then smeared him to discredit him, to get people to not respect that a U.S. Army soldier was murdered, that no one should care. They framed a false narrative around the whole thing, and at the end of the day, he's a total hero, and they didn't want the people to know it. And now, not only, and I don't think, I know he didn't know what his whistleblowing at the end would actually expose. And free more than just this child trafficking ring. Right? Expose more than just you know, restrain it, help the children, but they're mostly dead now. 3 years. And I've had evil, evil people say, oh, but the emergency intake center didn't even start until 2021. Yeah. Yep. And that would have never happened if they would never have murdered Richard and acted on what he was reporting. It would never have happened. But because we have an illegal medical examiner, a usurper for a DA, and fake judges, they're fake. They're con artists. We have hundreds of thousands of children that were unaccompanied, vulnerable, totally vulnerable, that are now mostly dead. And who knows what they did to them. All for what? Real estate deals? Real estate deals? Really, real estate deals? Contract real estate deals? Let me put the carpet in the housing? Let me put the roofing on? Let me sell these cars over and over to these vulnerable soldiers coming in, and we'll say, oh, well, they just need a little fix it up, or you can invest in it. We'll fix it up. Just con them. Take advantage of our young volunteer soldiers. And you have generals allowing it and being part of it. Generals being part of it. They are so disgusting. And then participating, having their groupies participating in the bullying, the intimidation, the cover-up of the crimes. Absolutely. In Richard's case. Using taxpayers' money to do it. I think the death penalty needs to be on the table. Big time. A really big syringe. A super duper big, huge syringe. And everybody that has, because let me tell you, there are so many witnesses. There are so many that know. But they're in the cattle crush. There's so many that know, like Jerry Jackovitz. And I mention him, because there's like Michael Roddick and all. Or Michael Roddick he's part of it, okay? That lieutenant colonel is part of it. Period. David Park, part of it. And Jerry Jackovitz, part of it. But Jerry was shaking. He could not keep the level of this crime inside him. It came out. It seeped out. And he was shaking. Just like Yoshida. Yoshida is in big trouble. And he was crying. And the members of the unit, they're all in big trouble. They're in super duper trouble. Michael Saboteur, Ruggiero, he's part of it. He's so part of it. And participated as active duty through his wife And afterwards, in the threats, intimidation, even death threats to our family, to our son, because they're part of it, because of their connection with Leilani Hart, James Hart, Dallas Hart, Nadal Bayim, Bradford Bugado, for what? Real estate? For what? A few bucks here and there from the criminal trafficking, and maybe some people got a trip to Disney off of this. Um, I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. I'm absolutely serious. Real estate, their connection with, Jonathan Ambrose. I don't want to forget that because he's, like a major um, part of their LLCs, and KTSM and Bliss Avenue, beautiful Bliss Avenue that connected with Walmart case with Richard's case. It's just such hard evidence. The addresses, the connection to KTSM through this family, very connected to KTSM, and do not believe that. Look, they FitFam El Paso, which we acquired, we have that. FitFam El Paso and KTSM put on a big show for El Pasoans with Danae Katzen and Jonathan Ambrose. Oh, they are crazy. They're just so crazy. Oh, they're scam artists. They're so bad. No, no. This is the same thing they try to do to us with Nadal Bayim. He's a nobody. He's a nobody. Don't pay attention. They're just scammers. There's just no. He's just a crazy guy. And that Danae Katzen, she's just crazy. And Jonathan Ambrose met her, and it's so bad. She just took him down the wrong road, and this and that. That's all framing of a false narrative. For protecting convicted criminal Leilani Hart, who, with this last confession, the crisis in confession, crisis of lies, Dallas Hart, Texas Hart, the El Paso matters that are in big trouble. So, and that's all a little hard to understand. I mean, you can understand, Dallas Hart being Richard's platoon leader, and what were they doing on Fort Bliss? They were taking advantage of our want for our military, our respect for our military, our entrusting the military with our own children, with our monies, with our talent, with our treasures, with our respect, and they have betrayed us. That's Dallas Hart, that's Leilani Hart, that's Tavita Nusa, that's James Hart and James Hart. And did I say James Courtney Hart? James Courtney Hart at the VA, James Courtney Hart with Chris Martin. Those duos, the duo, VA and Chris Martin, Mr. Deathman. Wowzer. Talk about scammy frauds. Mr. Scammy Frauds duo. Our most vulnerable soldiers at the VA. Yes, that lethal injection needs to be big. It'll need to be big for Chris Martin, right? What he has done with James Hart, it's so bad, y'all. It's so bad. Thank you for watching late, Danielle. And it's Richard's case is broken. It's broken. We know. It's all there. And so now we are exposing the criminal judicial system the best that we can, and as quick as we can, because we have to learn it, know what to do in order to. Can you this is the whole magistrate court is so big. You thought that Bill Hicks exposing him was big, and exposing the chief medical examiner is big, but we've got a whole court. And if they're doing this in El Paso, where else are they doing it? To control how cases are ruled without any kind of oversight from the people through elections. It's, yeah. And where's Veronica Escobar? No. And yes, I did want to talk about, before I go, I want to talk about Julio. Julio Cordero. 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 Codero. I hope so. Cordero. Condero. Yeah. Cordero. Julio Cordero. If you know him, and you live in El Paso, he has been killed. He was an FBI agent. He was an expert witness in the Walmart mass shooting case. He retired. Seasoned FBI agent. Okay? Seasoned. Trained. And anyone that has been in the military. Now, I have not been in the military. I've been the daughter of a career Army man and the wife of a 30-year veteran. All kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of deployments, everything. The one thing I can tell you is that no matter what happens to my husband, he's a soldier. It's just part of who he is. He's a soldier. Same thing with my dad. I don't care how much time went by. I don't care how old he got. I don't care if he got forgetful or sick. He was always a soldier. Once you are a soldier, you are always a soldier. And if you are a career seasoned soldier, a career seasoned FBI agent, you are always an agent. You are trained. It's part of who you are. And the media is trying to frame a false narrative around him. Now, that's my opinion. That's our opinion here at Team 5 Richard Halliday. Absolutely the insane stories surrounding the killing of this agent. Yes, he was retired. Yes, he was at the school. He was shot in the head. He was shot in the head. Our opinion, The media is framing a false narrative around this killing. Do we know why? A little bit. Do we know totally why? No. When you know that he is a expert witness for the Walmart case, you don't have to. This is not a secret. We're not keeping a secret from anyone. He's an expert witness in the Walmart case. Do you know a little bit? Yeah. The coverage of his death, killing, is absolutely suspicious. And that piqued our interest because we're like, what? What's going on here? So, just to let you know, we want to bring that, they try to frame this false narrative so that you don't care and that you just throw it, that you're not paying attention. That there might not, there might be something bigger here, but they don't want you to see it. And this has to do with the El Paso Independent School District. We don't want to know about that. We don't want to know about where our children go to school, right? I mean, we don't want to know about that. This is really just, the media is just absolutely, some of them are just evil and some of them are cattle in the crush. Just cattle in the crush. Just go follow the tail end of the next. Follow the tail end of the next. Follow the tail end of the next. It gets, and let me tell you, crushes are not the nicest, cleanest places, right? It gets pretty mucky. So, with that, we just wanted to highlight that with keep your mind open to those that have a lot of real estate, that have connections with like car dealerships or a car, like carpet places, ammunition supply, Western Frontier Trading. But definitely real estate. Anything providing for contracts and it's pretty vast. And James Hart is right in the middle of it. And they tried to scrub it. Leilani Hart's there and Dallas Hart is there. And they tried to scrub it because they were up to no good. And the conflicts of interest are just so obvious. And the connection to Richard is so obvious. If you're Nadal Baim and you're totally in Richard's case and you're connected to the Harts, and Bradford Bugado and the G3 of the 32nd AdCom, it's pretty obvious. So the case is broken, but it should have been broken in July of 2020. And it's just this criminal justice system it's broken in a bad way. So we're going to expose it. And it might take until the election. I don't know. I don't know. I really believe there's good people in there in the system. And exposing it, I think, takes down, the big fence of the crush or something and frees them to do their job. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but there it is. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.